Hi, friends. Gene Valentino. Welcome back to another episode of Gene Valentino's Grassroots Truthcast. We've had them all on the show from all walks of life. But when I bumped into Eddie Zarahn, I got to tell you, I came across a guy who just happens to be stayed in an insurance industry profession, which is where I started many years ago. So when I met Eddie during my travels more recently here in Pensacola, Florida, I knew this was a topic, a person I was going to have on the show at some point. The Eddie Zarahn Insurance Agency provides personal and commercial insurance. Yes, they're here locally in Pensacola, but they're doing stuff nationwide. And that's what I wanted to talk about, not only his areas of expertise locally and what he's providing for in terms of insurance coverage locally, but I want to talk about the industry. I want to talk about the issues. And then I want to make sure you talk to Eddie about the same issues. It'll help you understand why the insurance has been such a debacle over the last several years, and what Eddie did to survive during a rather auspicious times under political changes in our nation and social economic changes in our nation. We're going into it right after this.
Hello, everyone. Please keep supporting Gene Valentino's Truth Podcast. We need our voice to get out there far and wide and help save our country.
Hi, friends. Gene Valentino for My Pillow. You know, this past year has been one of the hardest in My Pillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through, though. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to all listeners and viewers. Did you know you can get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98, or My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for just $39.98? Or how about the blankets, the comforters, and the duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard My Pillows for just $14.98? So go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-589-4706 and use the promo code. Don't forget the promo code. Use the promo code GeneV to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including standard size My Pillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. The queen size, $18.99, or kings, only $1 more. We know My Pillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but My Pillow has just announced that they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have a 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. Let's get on board with My Pillow. They've been there for America. Let's get there for My Pillow. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Grassroots Truthcast. And meet my guest, Eddie Zarahn of the Zarahn Insurance Agency. Hello, Eddie. How are you?
Good, Gene. How are you?
I'm doing fine. On this very cold January day in 2026, we find ourselves with a little time on our hands to have an insurance conversation. It might have been about frozen pipes, but the fact is there's so much going on in the industry in general, and Florida really is a different animal, Eddie. But before we get in on some of the specifics, tell me the general tidbits about the Zarahn Insurance Agency, your team, and your scope of work you do right here in Pensacola.
Well, we like to think about our agency as the Walmart of the insurance industry because we do virtually anything that people need, and we've been doing that for 50 years. I started my career in September 1st, 1975 with Nationwide, and then it progressed from Nationwide to independent status, and so we operate as a full-blown independent agency, and we represent our insureds, I like that we represent our insureds versus representing insurance companies, because it's the insureds who pay our bills.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed about the industry over the last 50 years is that it has morphed, uh, big fish eating small fish, and I've noticed the industry's policies and positions changing. And it really got even more confusing to the public because they were changing on a state by state basis. It wasn't necessarily a policy that was geared for the nation's clients of a given company. It was geared more toward policy, financial disciplines based on what the legal uh, mandates were within those states. Uh, Generally speaking, I find that the McCarran-Ferguson Act and other acts going back to the 1950s pushed insurance down to the state level. And as a consequence, when you became a licensed agent, there were nuances in each and every state that you were taking a licensing exam for. And only by endorsement we could see is these policies being able to cross state lines. Did it create more confusion for you, or did you care? You had business in your own state, but did you worry about business in 49 other states?
Well, not not 49, but we do business in other states like Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. We have a little bit in Texas, but each state has their own rules. And of course, the McCarran-Ferguson Act made insurance a state regulated item. But Gene, when you talk about the federal flood program, for example, some of the stuff that the federal flood program has done over the years has really been adverse risk selection. And as a result, I read that the flood program operates every year at a $20 billion plus deficit. Of course, I guess you know where that deficit comes from, ultimately taxpayer funds. But the idea of a national insurance program for property, especially wind, has always been kind of an intriguing subject. But the problem with states seems like if they don't have a problem with wind, the state governor, whoever, the regulatory bodies, they don't seem to be that interested in anything that be a national wind program, for example, because they don't have a wind problem. And so I don't know if we'll ever get a national wind program in the United States, at least in my lifetime.
Yeah, I remember looking at it just a little differently and saying, well, why don't you just include wind in all 50 states? And if someone thinks they don't have a wind problem, endorse it off the policy because the law allows you to, and give them a credit for taking wind off the policy, as opposed to some other states where it's vital. What I'm concerned about is that the states on a state-by-state basis are basically going a la carte with the menu on what's hot and what's not in their region, and the premiums are showing it. For example, look what's been the case here in Florida for the last several years regarding hurricane, wind, flooding, and everything else, the basic perils of policy. You're having trouble getting a standard insurance company here. Now, I know it's coming back now and things are relieving pressures on the homeowner and the automobile driver and the business owner. But what, in your opinion, has happened over, let's say, the last 2 or 3 years to the average homeowner or driver that's impacted the way they were covered before and paying before versus today?
Well, all the carriers, commercial and residential, they would really like to insure a new property away from coastal water. that's their ideal risk. So if they can't get that, they'll insure an older building that's preferably in new condition, and that's where we have ongoing battles on a daily basis of finding risks that are older that will qualify for a carrier. Of course, the roofs are the number one issue you go through, and I guess the general consensus of the industry is that Gene, if you and I have a house next door to each other and you've got a new roof and I got a 20-year-old roof, the census is we have a hurricane, the new roof is going to sustain the hurricane much better than my older roof is going to sustain it. And that's about all they really seem to really hang their hat on, is that the age of the roof. And it doesn't seem to make much difference if it's a 50-year architectural shingle or a metal roof or whatever. They just want to insure buildings that have relatively newer roofs, and that's just where we are. And then you have to have these inspections, and they will decline to insure a property for obvious maintenance issues, or they give you 45 days to correct them. But it's a battle. That's what we do a good bit of the day, just trying to qualify risks that carriers will take and give them a competitive premium and good benefits, because when you get a carrier going to give you an actual cash value policy where everything's depreciated, that to me is an open invitation that when the customer has a claim, that they're going to be very disgruntled. And
Yeah. What do you see as the biggest insurance mistake that people are making right now, knowingly or unknowingly? Where are you finding that they're falling into trouble?
Not maintaining their property, because that it's really some of the people that can't maintain the property can't afford to buy insurance. And then when they don't maintain their property, like for example, they have a leaky roof, you know what's going to happen over time. You're going to have rotten trusses and all kind of other issues. But proactive building maintenance, I see as a real problem in a lot of areas in Florida, and I don't know exactly why that is, but we see a lot of properties that are just not well maintained, and if they do get insurance, it's actual cash value, it's a basic form, it's really not very good coverage, but it's the only coverage they can get, and they're paying more for a whole lot less. But I don't know, I don't really know what a solution to that would be, because we haven't found one.
Do you find the people being overinsured, underinsured? When you ask them, do they know? How astute are they with their coverage and the level of risk they're knowing or unknowingly taking right now?
It's funny because you can tell someone based on a Marshall and Swift software replacement cost guide that we have to deal with every homeowner carrier that we write with, and say you come up with $600,000, and the insured says, "Wait a minute, the most I could sell this house for is $300,000. Why would I want to insure it for more than the market value?" Because the homeowner's policy, being a replacement cost policy, is not a market value policy. It's what it would cost to rebuild your home with new materials. And unfortunately, those reconstruction or construction prices and material costs have not gone down that I can tell in many, many years. they basically don't continue to go up. So you get a discrepancy between the market value and replacement value. And a lot of people, I just don't believe they understand the difference. I don't know if they don't want to understand it, or they just don't think it's valid, but it costs a fortune to rebuild. And we insured a office about 3-4 years ago, and it was a very nice office. And the replacement value per square foot was like $550 a square foot, and that's what the guy paid to build the office. I mean, he had all the records, but cost of reconstruction has not gone down, and I don't think we're going to see it go down, even though the price of housing is going down a little bit, and some of the builders are giving incentives to buy down the interest rate to make it more attractive. But to build a house or put up a commercial building, that's been nothing going down about either one of them.
Eddie, do you think most homeowners understand the difference between market value on the house and replacement value?
I do. I do not believe the average consumer understands that. And of course, if they're not dealing with it, they're not in the construction business, and they haven't had a loss, and they bought the house, and they just don't have anything really to hang their hat on. But it's amazing. There was a time where replacement value and market value were pretty close, but a lot of times they're not. And you could take a $1 million home and put it East Hill somewhere, and it might be worth $2 million. But you could take that same $1 million home and put it in an undesirable area, and it might be worth $700,000. So the location, has a lot to do with market value, but replacement value is not really derived by the location. It's just what it costs to build a house.
Yeah, the cost to rebuild. I remember I used to be an instructor of the insurance licensing courses going way back, and we talked about 5, maybe 6 different values: replacement value, and insurance value, or ACV value, or market value, were just 2 or 3 different values. There's also appraised value from a tax point of view. There's all kinds of values, and one of the problems you think you have is that, when the house burns to the ground, you're not worried about the value of the land, the waterfront, or the concrete. It's probably there to stay. People don't often understand that. Folks, we're talking with Eddie Zarahn. He's with the Zarahn Insurance Agency, been in the Pensacola region for, help me out, Eddie, close to 50 years.
50 years.
50 years. It's been... I came to town about 44 years ago, and I knew you'd been around then. He's on 229 Beverly Parkway, Pensacola, Florida, 32505. His office number is 850-438-9169. Give Eddie a call. Sometimes it's not about just wanting to sell an insurance policy. Some people are in dire straits, Eddie. At least that was my experience. They didn't have a clue of whether they were covered or not, what they should do. They needed some direction. And, in this business, it's not like you make a fortune off of a policy. You're hoping a lot of policies accumulate to support the business over the years. And that's how the insurance business works from a occupation or professional point of view. And Eddie's got a CPCU. He's a chartered property casualty underwriter. I won't hold that against you, Eddie.
Well, it took me 6 years to get it, Gene. Someone who's smarter than I probably could get it in 3 years, but it took me 6 years. But it's a very comprehensive overview of the insurance industry, legal aspects, operational, accounting, statistics, rate making. So it was a wonderful experience. There's just so much to learn in this industry, and I love I love the fact that it has connected me to so many wonderful people over the years, people that I became dear friends with that I would have never met probably in another type of business. And that's the part that I like most about it. I don't particularly like insurance companies per se, but I sure do like the clients we've had the privilege of serving.
It's always been a pleasure as well to have a friend in the insurance business. Insurance people, by their very nature, seem so well connected on so many fronts. And I understand the spirit of the independent agency system, which is what you are. Insurance companies come and go, but so you want the flexibility of being able to place their coverage in their renewal of their coverage into another policy, into another company if the circumstances warrant. What rules would you put out there? Would you recommend a homeowner check his policy once a year? Do they know what's covered and not covered when you review the policy with them?
Well, one shoe doesn't fit, every foot. When you look at any kind of, especially a property policy or a liability policy, I would encourage people to look at the exclusions, because most of us think we know what's covered, but what we don't fully understand is what's not covered. And the exclusions, reading those, if there's an exclusion in there that really you have a real problem with, a lot of times you can pay a little extra money and get the exclusion removed, and sometimes you can't. Of course, flood is a basic exclusion that you're going to have to get a separate flood policy if you want flood insurance. But it's interesting to me contractually when you think about homeowners insurance. I remember going to people's homes way back, and you look at their home and the shingles are curled up. And you say to the homeowner, "Mr. Homeowner, are you notice your shingles are curled?" A lot of times they would say, "Well, Eddie, the roof's not leaking." Well, I couldn't argue the point whether the roof was leaking or not. I didn't actually know. And some of them would say, "Well, if we have a hurricane, I'll get a new roof," which was true. So the industry really were putting on new roofs for roofs that were basically had no life value left. And contractually, a property policy has a exclusion for wear and tear. And that's what I guess we're going through right now is getting away from paying for, a worn out roof, for example, or whatever. But, that's the way it was forever. The industry bought new roofs, and with the number of hurricanes we had, there wasn't much point in actually changing out your shingle, just wait for the next hurricane. But that's really changed now.
Yeah, what kind of weather damage do you think surprises homeowners the most when they go filing a claim? They think they're covered, and all of a sudden they find out they're not. What's your experience?
Well, the time to find out what your coverage are before you have a claim, because obviously, as you know, when you have a claim, you can't alter the policy based on your date of loss to change the coverages. It doesn't work that way. But I think one of the things too, a lot of guys, have these garages that, they go out there and they tinker, and maybe they got a couple old cars or whatever, and that outside building could be worth, $50,000 real easy, and they have a loss. They find out they've got $5,000 coverage on that outbuilding, and they just, they never knew it. No one ever asked them, or, if you had a $15,000 ring for your wife, and she left it on the dresser, and you went to dinner and came back, somebody broke into the house and stole that ring, and you find out you got $2,000 coverage because there was no scheduling of the jewelry. There's a lot of potential areas where you could have inadequate coverage. But like I say, the time to look at your policies before you have a loss. And of course, none of us think we're going to have a loss, and maybe we won't. But chances are you're going to have something in the state of Florida.
Yeah. In your mind, let's switch gears and talk about business insurance for a minute and the general liabilities, excuse me, associated with it. What is it, the most common insurance gap on the business owner's side that you see small businesses suffering from? What should they be keeping their eyes on?
Well, the value of their contents, which would include their inventory, and generally the inventory would be covered for the cost. In other words, if it's a wholesaler, if it's a wholesale electrical company, the inventory would be covered at wholesale, not retail. And the value of anything and everything inside that building. A lot of times the inventory fluctuates, so you can either kind of pick a high number and insure for that amount, or you can do a monthly reporting form and report your inventory so you don't get in a inadequate situation. But most people don't want to do that, so really probably the easiest way is just pick a pretty good high number. And if you got in a situation where your inventory looks like it's going to go way up, stay up, then you increase your coverage. But proper amounts of insurance, because a lot of people say, well, if I go up on the contents, if I go up on the building, it makes the premium go up. Well, that's true, but the idea is to insure properly, and and if you don't owe any money on your house, you don't owe any money on your business, and you decide, well, I'm not going to buy property insurance, I'm just going to self-insure. Well, you can do that, and you have a loss, you just pay for it out of pocket. Most of us are not in situations where that's an ideal course, but there was a time when the market was hard where we were getting quoted 5 and 8 and 10% wind deductibles, and there are a lot of people still believe that those wind deductibles apply to the amount of the loss, and that's not the case. As you know, it applies to the total amount of coverage, and they just didn't really have any idea how large that wind deductible really was. I mean, if you got $1 million bill and a 10% deductible, you got $100,000 wind deductible, and if you lost at $50,000, you don't have any coverage.
Yeah. Hey, staying with the business insurance coverage for a minute, what claim could occur that could financially crush a small business who has a business owner's policy with you? What's the kind of claim that would just take down a small business that you've seen?
Well, you could have a situation where your building was destroyed, you can't operate, and you have loss of business income on your policy. Generally, 12 months is about as long as you can get loss of business income for. But it might take 2 years to get you squared away so you can get back into business. So then you've got a year where you're dealing with construction or whatever, and your business is not operating. That certainly could put you out of business, and you could have issues with your suppliers because of natural disasters. Of course, in Florida, getting good qualified employees seems to be more and more of a challenge, of course, in our industry. Young people don't seem to be interested one iota in the insurance business, which is kind of a shame because I don't believe they understand what the insurance business is. I know when I grew up, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and there'd be someone coming to the door, white shirt, tie, and my grandmother would pay them a dollar a month for some kind of insurance. And when I grew up, I thought that the insurance industry, that's what the insurance industry was. Little did I know about mandatory workers' comp, building insurance when you have a lien holder, a mortgage company, and automobile insurance, all the things that were mandated by law or lenders that required people to have it. And when I figured out about all this requirement, I said, well, it seems like what people in the industry have to do is convince people to do business with them versus somebody else. And I have thoroughly enjoyed my career, as I said earlier. But and it's to do it right and help people. Because you help people, you help indirectly, you help yourself.
Well, that's what I noticed. Yeah, that's what I noticed about you is how much fun you're having with it. Folks, we're talking with Eddie Zarahn from the Zarahn Insurance Agency in Pensacola, Florida. You can subscribe on our podcasts, and we send out our podcasts every week. Our Newsmax episodes, our radio station episodes, and individual interviews like we're doing here today with Eddie. Eddie is what I appreciate in the insurance business. Someone who's lived through the chapters. He sits against a backdrop of affordable insurance just in Florida alone, where carriers are leaving the state, some are coming back into the state, the politics behind that we don't even have time to talk about today. But it's a major issue. Another major issue which we were looking at that we're not going to have time to talk about today is the roofing scams and all of the plentiful lawsuits that are out there against these roofers that come in on the tail of a hurricane or windstorm. A story unto itself that states by state need to have been addressing. Again, it's why I wanted to nationalize an insurance program so that the application of the law would be treated more seriously on a federal level for all carriers, all insureds, all agents nationwide. And but Eddie, in the last 5 minutes or so, throw in a plug of your agency, anything else you're selling for insurance you'd like us to know about. We'll have you back for another episode to talk about the issue du jour as the industry evolves. Anything you'd like to add?
Well, we are the largest family-owned independent agency in Pensacola. As far as I know, all the other larger independent agents have sold out to national companies. Some of them sold out more than one time. And of course, these national companies, they run these businesses. We run our own business. We make our own decisions. And the officers in our corporation are me, my son-in-law, and my son. And we have employees been here for 20 years. And but we specialize in contractor insurance, condominium association insurance, commercial properties, homeowners. We have the carriers that we can shop. So instead of calling like a nationwide agent, and we don't even have any exclusive nationwide agents anymore, to get one auto quote, for example, we can give you 6, including Geico, Travelers, Hartford, Nationwide, Auto Owners. I mean, great companies, and the prices, depending on the risk, do vary. and sometimes they don't vary. But at least when you get more than one opinion about the subject, you have a better understanding of where you are. But automobile insurance is going down. But I remember when I insured two cars back in the 70s for full coverage was $250 a year. $250 now would might make one monthly payment on your auto insurance.
That sounds right. Yeah, boy, the times they have changed, but the prices went up. But you can ask anybody; it's sluggish the way they're handling claims, the claim process in general. It's turned out to be reported that it is not. It's been a stain on the insurance industry, at least in Florida. Was the sluggish claim process, but not with Eddie Zarahn at the Zarahn Insurance Agency in Pensacola, folks. One of the things you like about it, people buy people, right? I mean, we kind of want a certain association with people, and Eddie has gone out of his way to make sure you know what he's doing, why he's doing it, and actions speak louder than words. He'll be there in your time of need with his team of some 30 plus people on the Zarahn Insurance Agency. Your website address, Eddie?
ZarahninsuranceAgency.com.
Or they can call your agency office at
850-438-9169.
We're just going to have you back to get into some of the other issues as storm events occur over the next months and years ahead. Let's bring Eddie back for a spot check on what's going on in the weather conditions or the perils that have been affecting people in certain regions of the country and not other areas. Eddie Zarahn, thank you for being with us today. Any final word?
Thank you for having me, Gene. I've enjoyed it. I can ramble on about the insurance industry for days.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
you're in good company. Yeah, we sure could. Some people say I'd rather watch paint dry. Yeah, well, wait. My response has always been, well, wait till the crisis hits and you're looking for a serious answer in a timely way. Let's see how much patience you'll have patience then to listen for the right answer. Eddie, thank you for being with us today, my friend.
Thank you, Gene, so much for having me.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on another episode of Gene Valentino's Grassroots Truthcast. Eddie Zarahn, the Zarahn Insurance Agency, Beverly Parkway. That's ZAHRN.com. And check him out and give him a call. If you have trouble finding it, you can contact us through genevalentino.com and the website here to which you have subscribed. We'd love to have you as our subscriber as well. And we will make sure, absent anything else, we get you in touch with the Zarahn Insurance Agency. Thank you again, Eddie. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode on Gene Valentino's Grassroots Truthcast. See you soon. Hi, friends. Gene Valentino for MyPillow. This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through, though. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to all listeners and viewers. Did you know you can get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98, or My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for just $39.98? Or how about the blankets, the comforters, and the duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard My Pillows for just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-589-4706 and use the promo code. Don't forget the promo code. Use the promo code GeneV to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including standard size My Pillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. The queen size 8 $19.99, or Kings only $1 more. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have a 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. Let's get on board with MyPillow. They've been there for America. Let's get there for MyPillow.